All right, people, welcome back to another episode of the Love of Fighting podcast. Unfortunately, my little bro Ollie Stanley's not gonna be here, but I've got my mate here, Timmy from Fight Inside Podcast. How you doing, Timmy?
What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man, and
Yeah,
thank
it's
you for
good to
having
see
me.
you. Yeah, it's good to have you on the show. We've been talking about for how talking to each other for how long? I think it's been 2 years, I think, yeah?
Probably, man, it's been a while. I've been doing my page and my podcast has been going for it's 4 years this week. I just recorded my 208th episode, which is like, and one episode a week. So
Congratulations.
that's, yeah, four
Congratulations.
years. Bow,
Yeah,
bow, bow, bow,
congratulations.
bow. Do you
Yeah,
have
man.
music? What's going on?
I will edit something into it.
Get some blues.
I don't really know technology that well. Like I can
No,
throw
dude, me
my
too.
pills. Look, I've got so many pills I can throw it in the air for you.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Yeah,
Woohoo.
yeah. Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
I'll drink to
Yeah,
that.
man.
This is water. Bad if you're
Oh,
watching this.
thank you.
This is water. I don't drink. Yeah, I'm not allowed to drink. If I drink and if I get caught, I will get whiplash 70 times. That's the rules over here.
Ooh. All
Yeah,
right.
seriously.
Well,
All right,
that's
man.
crazy.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that because people really watch this shit. Like people from my dad's friends that are in the government. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it, please. I'm sorry.
Don't get,
I love and respect my country.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. Hey, man, thank you for coming in here. Unfortunately, Ollie's not gonna be here with us. Little boy got sick. But we got Timmy. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, MMA, everything, UFC. He's gonna teach me about PFL because I see you're a PFL guy. You got the PFL thing over there.
I got PFL cards. Yeah, man. I bought the
Yeah.
box of cards. I bought it because I thought that that organization would take off and I thought this would be worth something, but I think it's losing money as we speak.
Did you actually think PFL was gonna take off? Oh, seriously?
No, of course. You know what? Here's the thing. It's not that it needs to take off because no organization is ever going to rival the UFC.
No, no, no.
But did I think it was going to be a place where fighters could go and make money? Sure, maybe.
Yeah.
Did I think it would last a little bit longer and be a little bit stronger than it is? Definitely,
Yeah,
because
we all thought, yeah.
especially when they bought Bellator, I thought, oh, okay, this is cool now. Now you're gonna like merge those rosters. You're gonna be a little bit better, but they've really fumbled the bag, man, like badly.
Yeah, what is
So,
going on in there? Because I've been seeing that Bellator's going away, that PFL's not doing good as well. Like, what's going on with Bellator, first of all?
so okay, so Bellator got bought out by PFL in
Yeah, I remember
2023, I
that.
think it was,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And then they said, okay, well, we're gonna just continue to run Bellator cards. And then the PFL will have their season thing, right? Where we have season
yeah,
champions, and then PFL and then Bellator will still run their normal thing. They've got all their champions. That's cool. You do your thing. We're gonna have 6 events a year. We're gonna have 2 title fights on every card. And then at the end of the year in February, we're gonna have the Bellator champion at the time is gonna face the PFL season champion. So then 2024 starts and they do it. February
yeah.
2024, they
I
have
remember that.
PFL versus Bellator champs.
Yep.
Right away, problems. None of the champs fight. Like a bunch of the Bellator guys don't even fight. The PFL guys, they switch weight classes. It doesn't really work out. Okay. But it was
Yeah,
okay. Then PFL signs Ngannou. Ngannou says
yeah.
he's all behind this and whatever, and it was going to be this big thing.
And
Then
then
the year of
collapsed.
2024 goes on, and there's zero championship fights on Bellator cards. And then you talk to the Bellator fighters. Like I had Corey Anderson on my
Yeah, yeah.
podcast last
I
week.
was actually watching it before we started
He's
this. I was watching it. Yeah.
yeah.
The
And
man
then
was confused.
guys like him, guys like Patricio, Pitbull, Ferreira, uh, all the guys in Bellator, they just don't book them. And the reason why we think that they're not getting booked is because PFL can't afford them.
Exactly.
Because their contracts, like Corey Anderson said, there's a tweet that says he got paid more for 2 fights in Bellator than he did for 15 fights total in UFC.
Yeah.
How can that be possible? Someone told me they think he makes $1 million a fight.
Jesus.
That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. Some
So
champions don't make that much.
exactly. So then what happens is I think seemingly what happens is PFL buys them, but then doesn't honor any of their contracts. So
Yep.
they don't give them any fights. So these guys are just sitting there not fighting. Imagine you're a fighter. That's the only way you make money.
Yep.
So you just get no fights. And then on our podcast, he talks about how he's got up until, what did he say? October of, no, October of this year. His contract expires, but he's still guaranteed two fights. And then he said on my podcast, if we don't get the two fights by the time October hits, we're going to sue them.
Is it actually
So
in their
you have all these
contract?
fighters that are all
Yeah.
upset and stuff like that. And now they've just gotten rid of Bellator, apparently. Like
Yep.
now they're not even going to brand anything Bellator. They're just going to brand it PFL regular stuff and then PFL
Yeah.
season. Oh,
This is
there you
what
go.
I say about living in this, country. Internet shit. Yeah, man, I'm
Dude,
sorry about that. That shit happens
no,
all
no,
the time.
no. So,
If you
anyways, I
watch
don't know
my
where we got lost.
podcast, yeah, if you watch my podcast, you see these big time jumps, and it's because I get fucking internet like just disconnects out of nowhere. I'm like, man, I wish I lived in Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So he said he was gonna
And
sue, right?
my internet's not that great. What's that?
Man, I wish I had your internet. I don't know if you
Yeah.
let's say you want to download a video game. Let's say you want to download a video game that's like 50 gigabytes. How long does it take over there?
Oh, I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. I play on Nintendo Switch, so I'm not downloading massive games.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but
But
yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
I recently updated my Xbox. It was 5 gigabytes. It took 10 hours.
No, no, it's not gonna be like that. Jeez Louise,
Yeah.
no, no, nothing
Yeah,
like that.
this is
Yeah,
what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm dealing with. All right. So back to the PFL. You said Corey Anderson is gonna sue if he doesn't get a fight this year, right?
that's what he says on our podcast. He says that his manager, which is Ali Abdelaziz, like the famous manager
Shit.
Ali, right?
Yeah, better at.
He
Yeah.
says that he's been talking to his manager, and if they and yeah, the rat, Ellie. And
Yeah.
they say if that's what he alluded to. He said, "Hey, like if they
Yeah.
don't give me my fights, then I got to sue them, right? Like
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
a breach of
exactly.
contract."
Yep. And I mean,
But I
I'm
mean, in the
studying to be a lawyer. Yeah, yeah, go on. Sorry. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
nice,
yeah.
nice. No,
Yeah.
go.
All right. So I'm studying to be a lawyer. I usually do work with a lot of contracts. I'm not a lawyer quite yet, but I can, when the guy comes over and he's got a problem with a contract, I usually read the contract and give him advice. If there's a clause in that contract that says we as a company, Bellator or PFL or anyone, we as a company, we are obligated to, give you a fight at least twice a year, they can sue. That's a clause. They can sue it. I don't know how the
Well,
laws work in the United States or not, but if a
what I'm
contract
yeah,
was set here, we could do it.
what I'm confused at is like we know that like at UFC, you're what they do is they sign you for a certain number of fights, not a certain number of not a certain time. They sign you for a
Yeah,
certain number of fights.
yeah,
But they also have in the contract, they say we guarantee to offer you, normally it's three fights a year. Like we will offer you three fights a year. If you don't take it, that's fine. If whatever. And that's why you'll have people like GSP that are still under contract or Nick
yeah,
Diaz that's under contract for like years. Jorge Masvidal is still under
yeah,
contract, right? If you
yeah.
just stop fighting, and this is what people get confused, they think like if a guy retires,
Yeah.
that the contract dies. No, the contract's still
No,
there. That's why you
they
can't
just
just
don't
go
want to
pick up
fight.
and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
Right.
they
You
just
just
don't
don't
want
want
to
to
fight.
fight.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I don't want to fight.
And that's why,
No, no.
but that's why, like people like Nate Diaz, right? He fought out his contract. That's why he got to
Yeah,
go and box Jake Paul because he had fought out his contract, doesn't
yeah,
re-sign, and then you can go do.
yeah, you
But
can do
anyways,
that.
but we know in UFC, right? So if they say, okay, we're going to sign you to five fights, but then after a couple fights, they just go, you know what? We're just going to release you.
Yeah,
Then they don't owe you any money. They don't have to give you fights because they terminate the contract. But
yeah,
what I don't understand and what I didn't ask Corey was, okay, so if they sign you for 3 years, 3 years, and they say in that 3 years you get six fights, why wouldn't then just before the 3 years they just cancel your contract? Then you can't sue them
yeah,
because there's no contract and they haven't
yeah,
breached the contract because they terminated the contract. And I'm assuming they're allowed to terminate the contract,
yeah,
but I don't know.
yeah. Who knows, man? I mean, the
Yeah.
contract. This is why other organizations cannot compete with the UFC. I mean, Dana's he doesn't pay fighters. That's a fact. He doesn't pay. But look at the UFC, the level of success, the level of talent. You see
Well,
fighters fight more, and when they fight more, they're motivated to fight. First of all, I mean, it's a thing. Keep them hungry. We say it's a saying over here. Keep them hungry. He keeps them hungry, but they come back, keep fighting. And this is the thing with
well,
PFL. You fight twice, you get $2 million. You're done. Some people live for the rest of their lives on that $2 million. That's the
of
issue.
course. And dude, I could live off $2 million for sure. But I don't know. Like, The other thing though, I had a fighter on the podcast, Jake Matthews. He's from Australia.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah,
the
yeah,
UFC.
yeah,
I had him on maybe a couple years ago. He was going on Twitter a lot because he was saying the pay is good. The pay is good. And so I had him on the podcast because I'm like, well, everybody says the pay sucks, man. Why are you saying the pay is good? And he said, look, you have to work for your opportunities. He goes, do you understand you can get into the UFC after like 2 years of training?
yeah,
He's like, people think that we should be paid like hockey players. Hockey players invest their whole lives training camps and going since they're like 3 years old to become a
yeah, yeah,
professional
yeah.
hockey player. And the money you invest. He goes, I could literally take a guy and in 2 years off the street, I could get him into the UFC. Of course, that guy doesn't deserve millions of dollars. He goes, but if you win your fights, your contracts get bigger and bigger.
Bigger, you get paid more.
You get bonuses. And he said, and also you have to leverage your opportunities. You got to like the reputation of being a UFC fighter. He's like, then you can go do seminars, you can go do whatever. He
Yeah,
goes, you only fight like twice or 3 times a year. He goes, you have
exactly.
lots of time to like run clinics, go teach seminars, go do whatever and make a lot of money. So I think the one thing is, yeah, maybe the UFC doesn't pay as much at the beginning, but
Yeah,
you're supposed to turn that around, right? And there's a famous saying that he says is that fighting for the UFC is not a career, it's an
it's
opportunity.
an opportunity. Yeah,
So you're supposed to take that. You take that moment where you become famous, you're at the highest level. You got to now you got to go parlay that out. You know what I mean? Like you got to market yourself and do whatever, get sponsorship deals, get all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. And this is the thing with other, other leagues. They spend so much money on the big names, and when it comes to the little guys, I don't have anything. It's like
Well,
when my
yeah,
father's in the construction business, he's like, well, I build this building, I finish half of it. A guy comes, he spends a shit ton of money on this building, he buys it, and then when it comes to finishing it, he doesn't have anything. This is the same thing. They find a retired old UFC veteran, they pay him a buttload of money, and when it comes to the little guys, they don't have anything. Like, we can offer you two and two, 2,000 to fight, 2,000 to win. And that's their
no, no,
contract. Yeah.
nobody's getting 2 and 2.
Yeah, people
The
are, man, they definitely are.
no,
Not in the
no,
PFL. Maybe not in the PFL, but like m- maybe in the Bellators because I've heard from like back in the day, like years ago.
I don't know. Maybe
Two and
no. I
ten,
think I
two and
I
two was it's a bit low, but maybe like 5 and 5, 6 and
no,
6, 10.
right now I think it's 15 and 15. 10 and 10 or 15 and 15 I think is the minimum. Like if you're coming off Dana White Contender Series, I
No, no, I was
think it's 15
yeah,
15.
I was talking about PFL, Bellator, smaller organizations, not the
Oh,
UFC.
I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, God
yeah,
knows. Who knows,
yeah,
man. I've heard like some people floating around numbers that are like fighting in BKFC and stuff like that
yeah,
that it's very low. Like you'd be surprised at how low.
yeah. But like
So,
I feel like it was the do you remember the Oscar De La Hoya MMA fight, the
yeah.
Chuck Liddell and who was it, Tito Ortiz, the trilogy? You remember that card?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I think it was 2020 or 2021. Dana said that there were guys that still haven't received a penny.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like
From that.
you find Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, you bring those two old UFC fighters together, you pay them a shitload of money, and your event doesn't make as much as you
Yeah.
anticipated. And you're like, man, you know what? Come back tomorrow. I'll give you your money tomorrow. And come back next week. 6 months later, a year, two,
Gone.
goodbye.
Yeah.
You call Oscar De
See
La
ya.
Hoya. Oscar, phone disconnected. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the
No, dude,
hell?
that yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
thing.
and that's the thing why like people were complaining about like the Reebok deal and the stuff like at UFC, like the
Yeah,
sponsorship deals and stuff, right? Because
yeah,
apparently the thing was that there were a lot of fighters that didn't get paid from all the sponsors that they wore all over their clothes. But with UFC doing this thing with the uniforms and the Reebok deal or the Monster Energy or whatever, UFC controls that and guarantees that you're going to get the money that you're supposed to get. You know what I mean?
yeah. But people
So,
don't look at it as that. People look at it as the
sure.
UFC took away our sponsors. The
Yeah.
UFC took away our sponsors. They took away our money. I was feeding my child with that money, but you don't remember the
So,
times when the sponsor fucked you over.
Yeah. So that's fine, but the thing was too, you're talking about probably like Anderson Silva and Chuck Liddell, who are probably making
Yeah,
a boatload of money off their sponsors, but the starting guys probably weren't making much anyways, but at least this way it guarantees. Now,
yeah,
again, you got to figure that stuff out, but you know,
yeah. It's the
fighters
whole
are
thing.
still getting sponsors, they're still earning money
Yeah,
and the important thing, like here's the thing I always say though, like if people, and this is what I say on my podcast a lot and stuff, if people want to complain about fighters not making money, okay? Like, you know how all the fans online, right? People are always
yeah,
like, oh, you gotta pay more money, pay more money. Ask those people, what's the last pay-per-view you paid for?
exactly,
What's what's the
exactly.
last what's the last hold on, I'll get it here. And I got more coming in the mail, but hold on. What's the last fighter card that you bought? This is Isaac Bulgarian, right? He was selling his cards online like with his
Yeah,
signature. Okay.
beautiful.
What's the last fighter you supported?
Yeah, people
If
don't
you
do
don't
that.
do anything and you're just stealing the pay-per-views or you're just watching it for free, blah blah, what are you doing to contribute? You know what I mean? Like
Nothing.
that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
so I commentate for an organization out on East Coast Canada. I'm going there this Saturday, Fight League Atlantic, so I'm wearing their gear today.
yeah,
Boom.
man, amazing.
So I commentate for them. And I'll tell you, man, like it's all these like amateur and pro athletes, and it's an amazing group of people. But it's like the crowd out there, dude, almost everybody is wearing a sweater. Like
That's beautiful.
all the fans in the arena and stuff like that, they support,
That's
man. They get out
beautiful.
there and they support their fighters. Like that's what you got to do. You got to support the organization, support the fighters, and then you hope that there's a snowball effect. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
But with the
Yeah.
UFC, because you think, oh, it's a big company, and we can just maybe oh my God, it's just me. I can't afford the pay-per-view. It's only me. No, it's not gonna hurt anybody. And then it's not just you. It's like tens and maybe millions of people streaming that fight, and no one's getting
Right.
paid. People complain about the low pay-per-view numbers. People complain about the low pay, but then you're not watching it on pay-per-view. You're watching it on some shitty stream somewhere. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about myself as well. I just recently bought ESPN and the Zone and all that shit.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have those stuff over here. But I bought ESPN for fight nights, and I'm buying the Zone for pay-per-views. Maybe that
So
can,
DAZN
yeah.
and DAZN had Knucklemania last weekend, like BKFC.
Yeah, yeah, I missed it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Dude, that event, oh,
Yeah, fuck man. I missed it. I missed it.
BK, dude, BKFC is one of my favorites, man.
It's
BKFC is
my
insane.
favorites. I used to be in contact with the BKFC
Love it.
people, but they don't text me anymore. They don't respond to my text anymore. I've
Yeah,
been
they
nothing
used
but
to be.
respectful. Yeah,
Yeah, they used to. Well, yeah, same for me. Like they used to be very responsive and stuff like that. But I think they're
yeah.
getting like quite big now, and good on them, man. Hey,
Yeah.
look, do
But
whatever
don't
you got to
forget
do.
the little
That
guys. I mean, you're the big guys. I'm with the little guys. I mean,
I'm not a big guy, man. But the Knucklemania 5. That event, 17,000 people in Philadelphia. The event was crazy. I had on Taylor Starling, Killa B, who was fighting on that fight. She came on my podcast a couple weeks before. I'm a
yeah, I
good, I
saw it.
like,
Yeah,
I really call her a friend, man. She's a great person. Um, dude, that card was so sick. I mean, the fights were insane. The energy was crazy. Conor McGregor is there acting like a lunatic.
he's
Like
always acting like a lunatic.
I know, but at Knucklemania, he's like amped up when he's there. He is yeah, he is so excited when he's
Yeah,
there. He's like so into it. I mean, he got into the face of Jeremy Stevens at the end of it. Did
yeah,
you see that? You see the
yeah, yeah.
clips?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Oh no, yeah.
He goes like nose to nose to Jeremy Stevens. He's like, "Let's fight." Blah, blah, blah. Like
Oh, are you
yeah,
gonna
it's
fight him
crazy,
though?
dude.
Are you gonna fight him, Connor?
He's
No.
not because he's under contract to
Yeah,
UFC. He
he's under
can't fight.
contract with the
So it's
UFC.
all
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, is Connor uh to let's talk about BKFC. Is Connor a owner, like an
Yeah,
owner of,
co-owner.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
a co-owner, yeah.
So he bought into the organization. David Feldman, being
Yeah.
the owner and president, ended up selling a portion of the business. I don't think anybody knows how much he bought,
Yeah.
but I mean he's very active. And so I had David Feldman on my podcast right after he sold some to Connor.
David Feldman, I was supposed to interview you 2 years ago. You didn't respond to my text. Your manager or whoever it was said we're gonna do it, and you didn't respond to any
Yeah.
of my texts. So yeah, if I see you, it's on.
Yeah, on site.
Yeah,
He no
on
he you know
site. It's on site, man. Yeah.
he was he was a good dude, man. But like he said to me when he came on the show, I said because I said like, what's the point of selling it to Connor? Like, what you're just gonna use them for like a commercial? Like what are you gonna do with them? And he goes, people answer the phone when Conor McGregor calls you.
Yeah.
So where he wants to get into, like if David Feldman wants to get in touch with like a network or an airline or an arena to have their event or the government to talk to them about bringing their fights to their country,
Conor McGregor's the guy.
BKFC BKFC calls they might not pick up, but Conor McGregor calls,
Well, they're gonna
everybody's
pick up.
picking up.
Yeah.
And sure enough, look what's happening. But he's done way more for BKFC than I even thought he would because
Yeah,
he
yeah,
is
yeah.
there at every friggin' event. He's getting hyped up. He's making the crowd go crazy. Because look, man, if a BKFC event comes to your city, you better go watch it because it's going to be
Yep.
freaking crazy. And the chance that Conor McGregor is going to show up and act like a lunatic,
Yeah. I
dude,
mean,
you're taking that every
yeah,
day.
yeah. And I'm glad that Connor bought into it, but I mean, the thing is, Connor, if Connor is actually really like into this, can maybe he just should stop talking about he wants to come back and fight. Just be the promoter. You were the fighter, Connor, back
Right,
for a
right.
while. Be the
I
promoter,
think
Connor.
I think the thing is that like as at a fighter at that level and stuff like that, he's never gonna be able to get out
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, he's
He
never gonna be able to.
can't.
Yeah.
So he can't, you know. But yeah, no, dude, that's crazy. And then there was a girl in the stands that got into a fight with another chick, right? And I'm watching this video and it's these two girls and they get face to face and this one girl looks like a WWE wrestler. Like she's got her hair all cool, she's got cool makeup. And I'm like, who is that? And I'm like, oh, it's the Black Widow, Jessica Borga. Like she used to be a Bellator fighter. She's 2-0 in the BKFC. And she's there and she's screaming at this girl. Like they're getting into fight. And she's like, sign the contract, sign the and
Oh,
she's like
Nicole.
making such a cool like promo, you know? Like she's like
Yeah.
shooting this promo and like it's like people's cell phone cameras that are catching it.
Yeah.
I got her on the podcast this week, and I'm like,
Man.
what the hell happened? And she's like, that's the chick I want to fight for the belt and blah blah. And I'm like, did the BKFC tell you to do this? Like, did they tell you go do it? She goes, nope, we just did it. And I'm like, kudos to you, man, because you know
Yeah.
what? Now everybody wants to see your freaking fight,
Yeah,
and BKFC's
definitely.
no,
Definitely.
and BKFC is gonna come up to you and go, here you go, here's the money,
Yeah, they're gonna
go
do it,
fight.
especially with Connor and the revenue he brings. They're
Oh,
definitely gonna do it.
and guess what?
Go up.
So this girl is Jessica the Black Widow Borga. The girl that she's yelling at is a
Yeah.
professional boxer, Hannah Rankin. And I go, okay, blah blah blah, right? We're talking, and she goes, you know, that's Connor's third cousin. And I'm like, what?
Jesus,
She's
what?
like, she's like, yeah, it's Conor McGregor's cousin. I go, so you're gonna fight the boss's daughter or cousin? And she goes,
Yeah.
yep. So
Yep.
the story writes itself, dude. Like
Yeah.
she's now gonna fight. Wicked. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And that
She could
chick's so
also
cool,
come
man.
out. She could also come out. Hey, don't, hey, she could also say, oh, she's the owner's cousin. He's gonna have all the support from the commissions, from the judges, and all that. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
knock her out. And then,
Yeah.
man, I'm a fighter myself. I
Wicked.
know sometimes how to cut a promo. Sometimes, yeah.
There you go.
Sometimes,
Yeah, good
yeah,
for you. There you
yeah,
go.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember back in the day. One time I had a fight. I fucking got fucked up. And you remember one time I put a story up, man, back in the day. It was 2 years ago, I think. I think you saw it. My face was all fucked up. Yeah, that fight turned out to be a shithole. It turned it was overturned to no contest, thank God. But still,
Oh,
man.
really?
Yeah, yeah, it got
Oh, well,
overturned. The guy was like on juice and shit. I fucking hated it. Like,
no.
imagine beating a guy. Imagine beating a guy, right? You beat up a guy, you pull guard, they think you're knocked out.
Right, right, right.
That's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then the guy tested positive, and then we found out he was like 20, 30 pounds overweight. They acted like, oh, he's on weight, and it was the
Oh,
shittiest fight I've had. I've had 10 fights, 11 fights, none of that. Never
terrible.
seen anything like that, man. Yeah. Yeah,
Terrible.
but I mean, I've got 4 minutes on this Zoom shit. Listen, you gotta give either gonna give me my fucking account back, or I'm not gonna buy Zoom Pro. I will not buy Zoom Pro. Give me my fucking account back, Zoom. If you don't give it to me and you ban me on this one, I'm moving over to Skype.
Go to StreamYard, man. I'm on StreamYard. Come over to
What
StreamYard.
is StreamYard? What is it?
I don't know. It's a crappy web. It works, man. That's what I've
Is
been
it?
using for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's just like a web based thing, and generally
And
works the same as this.
people use like when you contact fighters, do they know what StreamYard is? Like, do you have
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
explain it to them?
yeah. I mean, it doesn't. They don't need to download anything. I just send them a link and it works.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
they
amazing
just
then.
yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what?
yeah. So,
Is it
but
free? Yeah.
most people nowadays, like when I say, "Oh, it's on StreamYard," pretty much all of them go, "Oh, okay." Like they must have used it at least once before.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like one back in the day, for the first time ever when we recorded a podcast, we did it on Discord. Can you imagine that? We did it on
oh yeah,
Discord. I could not record it. So you know what I did? I recorded using I used to record with my phone. I used to record with
yeah,
my
yeah,
phone for the first one, and I used the screen recorder. And when I wanted to edit this shit, the audio was all fucked up. Yeah,
yeah.
the
Well,
first one it was with a Bellator fighter called Cosola. I don't know if you heard his name.
yeah, 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 yeah.
We were gonna do it, and we did it. And I told him I was going through a breakup at the time, and he was like, "You know what? We can do this later. Bye."
Son of a bitch.
No, but I like the guy. He's a
Yeah, yeah,
great fighter, man.
yeah. These things
Good guy.
happen, man. People get
Yeah,
busy.
things happen. Fighters they schedule something and they don't come on the show. This is the hard thing as a podcaster. You know, you call a guy, you
Yeah,
schedule a meeting, and then you call him up. They don't respond. They answer you. They text you back 6 weeks later. Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't see your call. Six
yeah,
weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Imagine that.
No,
I actually got that with a fighter. I'm not gonna
yeah,
say his name because I'm sure he will come back for me.
yeah.
But yeah, I've
Good.
got 2 minutes left. I wish we could
Yeah.
talk more. I wish we could.
Another time, dude. Bring me back
Yeah.
on.
You know what? Anytime you're free, text me. I will do it. I've done
Yeah.
podcasts at like 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 12 p.m. I've done it all the time. I do everything for
No
this
worries,
show,
dude.
man. And
Nice, man.
I'm glad you came on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in here. If you want to say anything, Mike's all yours.
Yeah, man. Like, look, if you're listening to this podcast is your favorite podcast. I know that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to be your second favorite podcast. So just give me a chance. I guarantee I can be your best favorite second podcast.
Yeah, you gotta be number one. You gotta be number one.
So check
Man,
me out. I'm at
yeah.
Fight Insight Podcast. We release episodes every week on Thursday. We always have guests from around the world of combat sports. My co-host now, my permanent co-host is UFC veteran Brian Bam Bam Barberina. He's my new co-host. So it's a great time, man. We interview people all around the world. This week we have the girl from BKFC, Jessica Borga, and a fighter that's coming out to my organization out here, Fight League Atlantic, or where I do the commentary. He's from Mexico, David Fuentes. Next week, I've got a guy from Octagon, Dennis Frimpong. He's the guy that fought Patty the Batty. I don't know if you saw those weird videos where he fights some guy in a gym. Did you see that?
No, no,
And
no, I
Patty
haven't
chokes
seen
the
it.
guy.
Oh no, no, I haven't seen it.
Okay. So there's this thing that went around. There's this thing that went around. It's an octagon fighter. I had him on the podcast before, but now he went and got into some scuffle with Patty in a gym. Like it's pretty crazy. So he's coming on.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's me. Fight Insight podcast. Go check me out
Fight Insight, go check
after
them
you
out, man.
watch this guy's
Yeah,
podcast all the
yeah.
time. Yeah.
After the 5 views we get usually. Fight Insight, man, check him out. Thank you guys
Dude,
for
it
watching.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take five. I'll take five extra views.
Yeah, man. See you guys.
See you later, bud.
Bye.